Kirby is one of those franchises that I feel like I don't have a lot of connection with. I remember borrowing a copy of Triple Deluxe and beating it back in the day, played a couple of smaller Kirby games here or there, but I never really got into it. This could be attributed to my general distaste toward easy games. Not to say I don't enjoy easy games, I mean Super Mario Odyssey is one of my favorite games of all time, but generally speaking, I enjoy a good challenge. Kirby's design philosophy, according to legendary Masahiro Sakurai, was to create a game accessible to all, yet still stay engaging for even hardcore gamers. A tall order for sure, but the fact that Kirby has just celebrated its 30th anniversary and is still going strong with arguably one of its best entries just releasing on the Switch, there is no sign of the pink puffball stopping anytime soon. With this new entry, it had sparked a small interest in me regarding some of Kirby's older titles. Kirby has a pretty deep history with really gimmicky games, going all the way back to even 1996's Kirby Superstar, regarded as one of the best Kirby games to date. Yet when you sit back and actually analyze the game, it's just a collection of little bite-sized experiences, not your usual grand adventure that the Super Nintendo was known for. 2003's Kirby Air Ride brought Kirby to his only mainline GameCube appearance, that being a racing game that garnered pretty negative reception, and even nowadays is a bit divisive. It's kind of a love it or hate it sort of game. 2 years later, HAL Laboratory released Kirby and the Canvas Curse, and what came with it was arguably one of the greatest video game commercials ever made. Come on, just look at it, it's Kirby hanging out with a giant finger. Now, I've never played Canvas Curse, but it seemed like a novel little spin-off. Actually, it seems to be a lot more fleshed out as it stands out as its own adventure, just with a gimmick attached to it. You use the DS's touchscreen to draw lines to traverse Kirby, and for a DS game, this is something I could totally see myself getting into, just popping the game in and playing a couple of levels and repeat. Now in 2015, HAL made a direct sequel for the Wii U, Kirby and the Rainbow Curse. This was an interesting move. Of course, the gamepad was perfect for a sequel, and the extra screen real estate and added power of the game being on a console could warrant some awesome results. However, in 2015, this was not what the Wii U needed. Canvas Curse worked as a handheld game, but putting it on the TV, the structure of its DS predecessor was already pretty repetitive, so it's hard to tell how they would be able to refine the gameplay. Plus, is it me or does anyone really remember this game coming out in 2015? This year was Nintendo's year of hits and misses. Super Mario Maker coming out on Super Mario Bros. 30th anniversary. Oops. Nintendo issuing a new IP after years of pumping out the same franchises. At the same time, though, you have such stellar hits such as Mario Tennis Ultra Smash. Do you ever sit in your bed and think, I want to Ultra Smash? And Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival, which like sucks balls. Whenever people talk about 2015, they kind of just brush Rainbow Curse off to the side, which is honestly surprising. Enough about the history and build up. This is Kirby and the Rainbow Curse. We start off with a cutscene that explains the, plot. So like, I don't really play Kirby games, but there's a serious lack of plot. Kirby and friends are having a wonderful day until the evil hands from Smash Bros comes and steals the color from the world, which like, oh no. Reminds me of that one Mickey Mouse Works episode where the blob guy steals all the color. Don't you love it when Mickey Mouse kicks literal ass? Then yep, go stop the bad guy. I mean, you don't really play Kirby games for the plot, but this is new Super Mario Bros. Level of basic. However, what immediately shines are the visuals and hot dog! After Kirby's epic yarn, HAL Laboratory struck again with another artsy-fartsy style, and it looks wonderful. Every little detail is accounted for. It really reminds me of the Lego movie. Everything in that film could be made in real life, and I hold the same sentiment here. Well, it's probably a lot harder since clay sculpting isn't on the top of most people's hobbies. Oh, Danerade, I sculpt using clay.
Oh, wow! That is
Everything looks handcrafted and not out of the possibility of human creation. Though really, if this was on a system like the Switch, the art style would work great alongside grittier games like Breath of the Wild. But on the Wii U, every game was a bubbly, happy 2D platformer, which is fine, but to everyday consumers, this looks like a baby game, which is such a shame because the visuals easily had the most love poured into them. It also doesn't help that since all the gameplay interaction is happening on the gamepad, I can't really appreciate the colorful and vibrant art direction as much as I'd like to. So while I love and really appreciate this game's art direction, it just really wasn't helping to push sales on the Wii U. Now enough about looks, what should I expect when playing this video game? I hope you weren't expecting gameplay in this video game. Rainbow Curse follows a pretty similar gameplay format to its predecessor. You use the Wii U gamepad to draw lines. These lines are what direct Kirby as he is rolling. You'll use these lines to navigate Kirby throughout levels. As for Kirby himself, he has no copy abilities. Oh no! So this is kind of a big part of Kirby and like, yeah, Epic Yarn didn't have copy abilities. The 3DS remake had them, gotcha there. Though this game may have compensated for that effect, is the main gameplay loop able to make up for the loss of copy abilities? Uh-oh, do we have another Battle for Neighborville situation on our hands? You can do a dash attack as Kirby. Look, I'm not gonna argue with you and say that this attack isn't effective, but in my opinion, half the fun of copy abilities is just messing around and trying out new abilities. The sense of exploration and discovery is a driving force, but removing that defeats a lot of the fun. There is like these transformation abilities that they added, which add like some variation. A tank, a submarine, a rocket, they're fine. I think they were necessary to add much needed variety to the experience, but with only 3 transformations, I would kind of expect a little more. I suppose this would basically be turned into the mouthful mode ability found in Kirby and the Forgotten Land, but it really seemed like they had a couple of ideas, implemented them, and moved on. But man, the submarine in particular is especially annoying because controlling Kirby in general in any water level is really cumbersome. I know water levels are slower paced, it's not a case of me being impatient, but the controls specifically really suck in this context because trying to maneuver Kirby underwater just feels clunky and wrong. Sometimes Kirby himself is also underwater, and this is also pretty bad. Speaking of which, this game has a shocking amount of underwater levels, and in general actually, a lot of the game has very gimmicky level structures, probably to add some variation to the main gameplay structure. Still though, I'd argue that the main gameplay loop should have been refined more as to not fall into this camp. So I made a Twitter. Alright, hear me out. I made one because if my YouTube channel gets terminated for no reason, then I kinda need a way to contact YouTube somehow. And also, second, no YouTuber checks their email, so if you want Danerade to appear alongside enter famous content creator, then get this number excessively high so that the Quebec guy knows I'm legit. Another unusual choice by the developers is how many of these levels are auto-scrollers. The levels where Kirby transforms into different destroying machines, auto-scroller. Water levels, auto-scroller. Just regular levels in general, yep, some of them are auto-scrollers. This just makes the game even slower, and while there should be a certain understanding that Kirby's not going to give you the highest budget or even revolutionary gameplay, come on, I think that it's fair to expect a little more. Planet Robobot exists, and that game is amazing. Auto-scrollers are nothing new, but they really felt like an unnecessary addition from a balancing standpoint. Then there is the fact that many of the levels themselves just have really odd design decisions. Like there is this one level where you have to keep Kirby in this hologram looking thing to open the pathway in front of you. The problem being that Kirby is constantly rolling and keeping him still in such a small space is pretty tedious. Then we get to World 4. It's in the sky, which you know what that means. Not again! There's this bird looking thing that attacks you, but then you go inside the bird looking thing. How does tight spaces sound to you? Claustrophobic people, I must warn you, don't play this game. Kirby is just bouncing around everywhere, which makes the tight corners and paths really inconvenient to maneuver through. Likewise, a section of the game I was really disappointed with were the bosses. They were pretty bad. Alright, so get this. You go against Wispy Woods, Garfield, and the Flying Dutchman, which I might add, the latter of which is the boss underwater, which oh my god! Then for Worlds 4 through 6, it's on repeat. This time, Wispy Woods got a new fresh coat of paint, and then Garfield, don't even get me started about Garfield. If you thought the underwater boss of World 3 was bad, yeah, take that. But the boss takes up half the screen and shoots lasers. Kirby, rated E for everyone. In World 6, the Squid Game guy comes back, and usually the difficulty in a video game gets exponentially harder to roughly stay in line with the skill of the player. But nope, not this boss. World's 5 boss was 5 times harder. And then the final boss. Oh, no spoilers, I hear you saying. I can't believe Danerade is spoiling the ending to a 7-year-old mediocre Kirby game. So this boss has pretty good music, actually. I don't know how it compares to the rest of the series, but it's pretty dramatic and it fits the mood well. The actual fight itself, yeah, it's bad. There are 2 phases, and the first phase is the usual wait until the boss sends a projectile so that you can fling it back at them. And then in the second phase, you turn into Rocket Kirby, and navigating him on the Wii U gamepad kinda sucks. Moreover, the final boss, what is this guy's name anyways? Dark Crafter. What the heck kind of name is that? Dark Crafter actually possesses a character called Claysia. Oh, come on, stop it with the puns. So the Dark Crafter has 1 attack, and a really annoying one at that. He spams these spike looking things, and as the fight goes on, he covers nearly the full screen with them, and I died an embarrassingly amount of times than I'd like to admit. So you beat him, and yeah, Kirby ends up getting all the apples he wants, which is a cute callback to the opening of the game. The main adventure is pretty short short, and thank God. I don't know if I could endure any more of this game. Also, only 7 worlds. Now, I don't say that as though that's not a lot, but usually games have 6 or 8. 7 is just kind of an awkward number, you know? Now, what I always remembered from, like, the 2 Kirby games I've played are the bonus and side games. Many of these games even got spun off into their own individual games. Think Kirby Fighters 2 or Super Kirby Clash. So after beating the base game, what else does this game have in store for us? Well, there's a challenge mode. It's pretty self-explanatory. You'll go through a string of 4 mini 15-second challenges and have to complete them all successfully. I actually quite like this mode, especially because if you don't get the rank you want, you can simply try again, and the short nature of these challenges make them pretty easy to replay them. Then go to the bottom half of the screen and uh-oh. Can you guess what the figurine showcase houses? Each level in the main story has 5 treasure chests to find, and obtaining any of them nets players a figurine. These can then be looked at in the figurine showcase, and certainly nice for people who want to go for 100%. But the actual gameplay more lies in the fact of you obtaining them than actually looking at them. The secret diary follows in the same footsteps, as each level contains 1 entry. Now, where can you find that entry, you might ask? Why, of course, at the end of each level, and if you didn't get to entry, you'll have to play through the whole level again. Then the music room where, you guessed it, you listen to music. It's time to boot up the Wii U just so that I can listen to my favorite Kirby and the Rainbow Curse songs. You can like nuke your save files. Harry Truman would be so proud.
Are helping to save the world from communism.
That's it. That's it, really. Putting into context that the base game is pretty short, there is a shocking lack of content in this game. Unless you are going for 100%, you can easily get through your fill of the game in roughly 6 hours. Which for a DS game, that wouldn't be so bad, but this isn't a DS game, this is a console game. I was expecting maybe the side modes to save the game, but even those couldn't compare to other entries. I would have loved to have simply seen more of this game and its style adapted to different types of gameplay. Adding extra game modes could have been an awesome way to work some other stuff in, but no. And that's about it for Kirby and the Rainbow Curse. I'm not gonna lie, I was planning this video to be around the 20-minute mark, but I really felt like I exhausted everything there is to talk about this game. The main story is a mixed bag, the game lacks content, and generally the game is a pretty slow and repetitive experience. I know for a fact that this game has its fans, and really, if you go into it knowing what you're gonna get, I could easily see this being a relaxing, turn off your brain, let me unwind kind of game. As a base experience, however, I found that it fell flat in most regards. Thanks for watching, and now it's time to play the end card with a random background as Rondo a la Turca plays in the back.